there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven. This last week I heard Joan say, life is full of contrasts, and maybe that's why this Ecclesiastes passage came to our minds. It is in this time of weeping that it's a blessing to have family and friends around us to hold us up and to keep us going, and to help us intersperse some laughing over our great memories and into the darkness of our grief. And it's interesting that in these contrasts, some are seen as those times that we want to experience, and others quite not so much. But without the times that represent the struggles within us, we can't embrace those that give us joy, hope, and peace. And it's love that seems to shine the brightest when we are in our darkest of times. Love that is patient and kind. Love that is happy with truth and that is eternal. The ultimate giver of this love is Jesus, who showed us what it looks like to love people as they are and to encourage them to grow into the person God created them to be. And Jesus showed his love, not only when the people around him had struggles, but when he himself faced the darkest of times at his crucifixion. But God changed what looked like a very dark time into a time of beauty by raising Jesus from the dead and bringing him to new life. Love is eternal. Love has always existed from the time that God created the order of the universe, including us humans. God wanted all of creation to live in the love found in the kingdom of God. Love lasts forever. Love is more than romance and more than a physical relationship. Love is the fiber that links us to the divine, and in turn links us to each other, weaving itself between generations, between the tribes of every nation, in and through the brokenness of the universe. Love is. And so I began to think about Jesus and how he loved people others didn't seem to notice. And it made me think about his interactions with the woman at the well, a person Jesus wasn't supposed to speak to because she was a woman and a Samaritan. No matter, Jesus sat and listened to her. He saw her, he heard her, and he responded to her needs. And she heard him, and her life was changed. It was not a supernatural divine interaction, simply a person-to-person interaction. Jesus took time to notice her and to listen both to her words and her heart, and it changed her. Which led me to think about Rich and the relationships that he had, both professionally and personally. And I've seen a couple posts on Facebook of how he was highly respected by his students, his peers, and his friends. And I wondered if it was because he saw us and he heard us. And maybe that's part of the legacy he leaves for each of us as we carry on without him. To notice those around us, to care for them, and yes, to love each other. So Rich was born on July 10th, 1944, and he and Joan were married on November 5th, 1966. Together this year, they would have celebrated their 58th anniversary and were seldom seen apart. Rich was a long-time and beloved teacher at EFA and for many years until his retirement. He was an active charter member here at New Beginnings and an avid bird watcher. Rich enjoyed identifying birds by sight as well as sound. He and Joan traveled from Antarctica to Alaska in search of new birds. Rich cherished all of nature and maintained memberships in several supportive organizations: the Chemung Valley Audubon Society, Cornell Laboratory of Ornithology, Cape May Bird Observatory, and others. He was a kind, gentle, loving man with an ever-present sense of humor. Rich loved his farm and took great pleasure in walking the trails and maintaining his bluebird houses. He had a genuine zest for life, and he loved to play golf. He is survived by each and every one of you, his family and his friends, those who were able to be here today and those who were not. His legacy of caring and love lives in each one of us, a memory of a cherished relationship that we can fall back on when our lives have seasons when we need to call upon that strength. On a personal level, I really appreciated Rich. Not just for the times I could count on him to be here around the church, and especially when he and Joan were here almost every day during COVID to make sure we could keep this building in shape for the times we would return, but also for the great conversations we would have about social justice issues and politics. And his sense of humor would often pop out when we were setting up for worship. He teased when we were singing too many verses of a hymn, or what he thought was too many verses. And I know that sometimes he was part of a texting thread with my husband and some of the other guys that would have my husband chuckling as they all went back and forth with their humorous comments about one thing or another. It has been a blessing for us to have him in our lives, if only for the short time we've been here. Others of you have known him much longer, and now we're going to hear from some of those people. His son Nat will read a poem. His friends Bob Smith and Bill Ostrander will share some of their experiences. And then two of Rich's grandchildren, Lily Grace and Alex, will honor their grandfather with a hymn on the piano and the flute.